I'm Ellen Brown, President of the Rotary Club of Harrisburg. We're part of an international community and humanitarian service organization comprised of 1.4 million members in over 44,000 clubs in more than 200 countries. Rotary leads the world in volunteer service. For more than 112 years, the Rotary Club of Harrisburg has organized impactful local service projects that changes lives and creates hope where it's needed most. Please join us at a Rotary luncheon at the Hilton, service on a Monday, or a Rotary alternate meeting to meet our members who are waiting to welcome you. You can find out more about us at hbgrotary.org. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope to welcome you as a member soon.
Bill Habacivch is Executive Director of Veterans Outreach of Pennsylvania. You've heard about the program before. We were blessed to have great community support and to break ground in June and cut the ribbon the other day. So we will be receiving our first 5 residents on the 10th, a week from today. So we've really moved the ball a long way, and Bill has been instrumental to that. Bill is a Marine. I was joking that I was going to tell you guys that the Marines were formed in 1775, and he signed up the next day. But he has a PhD from IUP, a master's degree from Temple, and a bachelor's degree from the University of South Carolina. He lives with his wife Susan in Mechanicsburg, and they have 4 children and 3 grandchildren. And his father and his son were also in the Marines. Bill has been an entrepreneur and a business school college professor teaching economics and entrepreneurship at Central Bend College and at, say it with me, at Harrisburg's Community College. Again, we're blessed to have Bill. He's been a godsend to us in terms of really moving the ball forward and getting us to where we are today. It's also great to see Diane here and Ellen. All have been really key volunteers in getting us to where we are today. And I'm excited for Bill to tell you what's about to happen.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. And I did enlist in 1775, right after they announced at Tun Tavern. And Marine Corps is the only service that was born in a bar. So, and it's an honor to have been there. No, just kidding. In any event, you're probably been watching and the unfolding of this incredible small community for homeless veterans that we've been building just south of the PennDOT building for some time now. And recently, of course, if you've been plugged into any news media, you've seen a lot of coverage. The coverage has been great for us. But we're at that stage now where we're not talking about what we're going to do. We're doing. We're going to be doing the work that we said that we were going to do, and it starts on the 10th of June. So we broke ground on the 5th of June last year, and we're taking our first veterans on the 10th of June, which is phenomenal. And you know what's even more phenomenal is the delays of construction, et cetera, and the overrun here, or you can't find parts there. By God's goodness, none of that really prevailed, and we are going to open on time and very, very close to projection. So we're thrilled with that as well, because you can say a lot of stuff and then stuff gets in the way, as you know. But let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen and what we're meant to do. We are a facility that is going to use a therapeutic community model to address the cognitive behavioral issues surrounding veteran homelessness. This addressing of behaviors is very, very important. And the way that we're going to do that primarily is through their peers. It's a lot of peer-to-peer work. In fact, about 75% of my staff that I've hired are veterans who have experienced homelessness, veterans who have experienced post-traumatic stress disorders, and veterans who have experienced substance abuse issues. They're well equipped. They're also veterans who are now, many of them, working on their master's degrees. So somehow they've come through the fire and they're starting to give back to their fellow veteran. And we're thrilled to be operating so soon. I want to tell you a little bit of some statistics. I don't want to bore you a lot, but the average age of a homeless veteran is 53 years. Now think about that. If you were a young sergeant at 9/11, 25 years old, how old are you now? And maybe you did 2, 3, 4 tours, and you were taught differently how to go about your business if you're a trigger puller. And so we're going to have these men that have gone through this recent unpleasantness, and they're going to be coming to us. We're going to have, if the average age is 53, that means there are men and women who are older. Also means that some are younger. So we have to be ready for that. We have to be ready for a myriad of problems. We're going to have some men that will never be gainfully employed again because of the age or the certain injuries that they've received. We are equipped to, our entire facility is ADA compliant. And we planned it that way because knowing the type of men and women that were going to be coming into our facility. We've got some damaged goods here. You didn't become homeless overnight. Somehow along the way, you've burnt your bridges with family, with friends, and now you've really isolated yourself. We understand that. We're going to address that. We're going to address it because we have to address it. We cannot leave these men behind. When I was in the Marine Corps, the rule of thumb was, not the rule of thumb, the law was that you never left anyone behind. In fact, if you had to leave someone on the battlefield, you carefully buried the body and you hid it and you marked it with an 8-digit grid, and then you sent a team in later to extract the body. It was that important that no one was left behind. The reality is that many of these men and women came home physically, but did not come home mentally or spiritually. They never came home. We cannot allow that to stand. As Americans, we cannot allow that to stand. As brothers and sisters in arms, we cannot allow that to stand. It will not stand. We have to address these issues. Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, who's a Green Beret colonel, he's also a PhD psychiatrist, and he wrote a book on killing. And he talks about something that I think needs to be said, because I think it's important that you understand some of the complexities that these men and women are going to face. And Lieutenant Colonel Grossman says that in World War II, about 5% of all men were trigger pullers. Only 5% actually fired their weapon. If they did fire, it is likely to be a crew serve weapon where they had their buddies around them, like a machine gun or a mortar pit, or they were using artillery or airplanes and everyone was watching. Because the reality is men don't want to kill one another. So the Army recognized or thought, we have a problem. We only have 5% trigger pullers. And they changed the way we trained. And by Vietnam, we got them up to 75% trigger pullers. And we said, that's not good enough. And by Gulf One, we got them up to 99.9% trigger pullers. And Grossman's book describes the psychological and sociological impact that killing has on society. So this post-traumatic stress disorders has increased dramatically. There's a direct correlation between the killing and the training that we've put into our young men and the levels of post-traumatic stress disorder that we're experiencing in society. And you think about this for a minute. And Grossman talks about this at length. He says, we've trained these young people that are 18, 19, 20, 21, young people to take human life. And they pulled the trigger. And I'm going to tell you something right now. They've already made the biggest decision they will ever make in their life. You can be the CEO of General Motors and you're making decisions about dollars and cents in production. That pales in comparison to what those young people had to make a decision to do. And so they're at the apex of their decision making as young people. And they did it. And we trained them to do it, and they obliged. And now we need to take care of this. We need to address it, and we got to get to the root of these cognitive behavioral issues, and we have to correct the trajectory that these men are on, these women are on. And so we're going to be working with peers, men and women who have been there, men and women who can walk the walk and talk the talk, and get alongside our brothers and sisters, and let's bring them back, and let's recreate a position where they have some dignity for the rest of their lives. And think about it, many of these guys are entering the fall of their life at these ages. Well, let's make sure that the fall and the winter is a different season, looks different for them. It's not so bleak. It's not so alone. It's not so hopeless. That's what we're going to be doing at this center. It's a treatment center. And when you come into the center, you're going to be given an individual treatment plan because everybody's an individual. And you're going to stay with us as long as you're making progress on your plan. You're going to agree to the conditions that you're staying as well. In fact, you're going to help model and shape some of those conditions. And then you're going to abide by them. And if you don't abide by them, just like in the military, there are disciplines. But we're going to put them back in a unit. We have 15 tiny homes. When I was in the Marine Corps, we had 13-man rifle squads. And you had a machine gunner and a gunner's mate, and you got a reinforced rifle squad, and that's what you got. And so I've got a reinforced rifle squad that we're going to put back into a unit, and they all will understand this. It doesn't matter what branch they were in. They've all been to boot camp. And they're going to start in the morning with reveille, flags up, report to the chow hall. We eat communally. There's jobs. They've got to adhere to the jobs. There's rack and bunk inspections every day. In the evening, it's flags down at sunset. Taps goes at 2200, 10 o'clock for civilians out there. And it's to bed, it's quiet, and the next day starts again. So there's structure, a structure that they understand, a structure that they felt safe in, a structure that they knew when they were the greatest troops in the world. And there was pride in that. And there was a mission that was bigger than they. Now the mission is to try to get well with their peers. And so we're going to work together with these peer-to-peer networks, and we're creating a community. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of how therapeutic community models work in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, if you are suffering from severe mental depressions, et cetera, what happens is the community gathers around you. They give you an acre of land and a water buffalo. So what they've given you is land and capital. And then they say, but we're not going to leave you alone. We're going to help you clear the land, cultivate the land, plant the land, and harvest the land. Notice that I have a long period of time here. And we're going to help you do that. We're going to help provide the labor, land, labor, capital. And all of a sudden, I'm building something and creating something. In economics, those are the basic building blocks of the creation of all industries. Okay? So they come alongside that person and they help them along the way, and they're talking to them and mentoring them because all these people in the community have done this type of work as well, and they understand it. But it's through that work, that peer-to-peer action, the support that the community is providing is how we're going to together get well. In like terms, with that little story, it kind of gives you an idea, a big 10,000-foot view of what we're going to do at this community. But not only are we serving the veterans at this community as 15 who have experienced homelessness, we're also going to be addressing the larger veteran community to come into our community center and receive services. We anticipate between 100 and 125 other veterans per annum coming through our doors to take advantage of classes on, let's say, financial literacy, hygiene, nutrition, working through this 12-step programs, et cetera. So we're going to be servicing a larger community as well. And we're going to do the old Barney Fife thing. We're going to nip it in the bud, and maybe we'll stop some people from going down the route of homelessness by addressing some of the issues up front. There's a lot of work there, and we're going to need your support. We cannot do it without the community. We've done so much with the community, but there's so much more. Now that we're operational, the budget's $1 million a year. It's a lot. And I'm going to need everybody's help. The corporate community, the foundations, and the individuals. I put some things on your table. If you're really interested in getting involved in our 15 for 15 program, please take some time to look at it. Think about how you might get involved. We could use your thoughts. We could use your prayers. We could use your support. We can't do it without the larger community. Everybody needs to help us, to help them, to bring them home finally, and put this baby to rest and say, you are now home. And now I'd like to just open it up and thank you for your time, but answer any questions on the field here.
Bill, thanks for speaking to us today. So of the 15 veterans that first reside in this community, you talk about helping them get well. What does get well mean? And is the goal for them to transition to a next step of residence somewhere else?
Sure. This is not permanent housing. This is a therapy treatment center. So the idea is that we put them in, it's a 4-phase model. First phase is 60 days where we bring in, initially, we're bringing in 5 vets starting on June the 10th. We've identified them through the coordinated entry system and cash and all the partners that are involved there. And we'll bring them in, we'll get them acclimated, kind of like boot camp. And then they will start into their treatment in phase 2. A new set of vets will come into phase 1 and be where they were. And then that peer-to-peer mentoring will start happening right away as, hey, you're the new guy. Let me get you set up. Let me get you starting to roll. Phase 3 is an exit strategy. That phase 3 exit strategy then allows them to be out, being employed, working, et cetera, and finding permanent residence. And phase 4 is you come back and you do peer-to-peer work. You encourage the veterans that are going through and sit down and do some run the group therapies, run individual peer-to-peer meetings, and get a buddy that you're a buddy and responsible for to encourage to get through. So it is a place for treatment and therapy. And that's exactly what happens here. It is not a permanent housing situation. But I'll tell you this, people say, well, how do you know they're not going to game the system? Well, excuse my French, but we have a lot of veterans that are working for us, and you can't bullshit a bullshitter. And so we're going to kind of know at some juncture what's going on here. And you can game me for a little bit, but you can't game me forever. And the peer-to-peer work demands that you come out of your shell and get into the program and start participating. And it's just like in the military. If as a sergeant of Marines, if we had a man in our unit and he was being a bonehead, he may have been a bonehead, but he was our bonehead. And if this stuff got to the lieutenant or the captain, then we failed as a unit. We failed drastically as a unit. We should have done better at making sure that guy was squared away, that guy was with us and there. So that, gives you that idea. They understand that too, because they've been in units. They understand that whole process and procedure. And by slipping them back into it, they'll pick it up just like riding a bike. Does that help you?
Figure Peggy has a question.
I'm Peggy Grove. by
Hi,
the way.
Peggy. We couldn't have done it without this woman, by the way.
Hardly met. There are two more programs coming to South Harrisburg. Tulsa Towers should be done with the process as well as building. They estimate a year, probably a year and a half is more feasible. Also from Rotary itself, Wendell Hoover is spearheading a program for affordable housing that will cost $300 a month, including utilities, et cetera, that is bridge housing for people exactly like we're talking about here. And Tunnels to Towers, of course, is also for uniformed personnel, service people, and specifically for veterans. So they met with one another when Tunnels to Towers was considering coming here. And one of the reasons they're coming here is because VOPA paved the way. So
Right.
there are the places, they're going to be right on site that will take the people who graduate from their program if they are deemed eligible by yourselves
Right.
to go into the next phase of programs, just so that you know they're not going to have to be dispersed throughout the state or through the hospital, Veterans Hospital or anything else. That is if they're qualified. And that's if they're on their way to wellness. So anyway, those three programs are going to put the city of Harrisburg on the map. And I was so thrilled to be able to be involved with this. For the past 5 years, this past week, we made it, the first phase come to fruition. So congratulations.
Well, thank you, Peggy. And again, without Peggy Grove, this project doesn't exist. So a big hand of applause to Peggy Grove for making this baby be where it is right now. So, and we couldn't have done it without you, Peggy. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Mrs. Benton. I'm actually a USAF vet.
Okay.
So I was definitely behind the program. Thank you. I actually missed when y'all were building this because I did volunteer to help. But aside from that, my student wanted to know, how do you sign up for it?
So
If
we
she
use
knows other
we use the
vets.
coordinated entry system. It's established it's here in the state of Pennsylvania and the counties, and cash is part of that. And we're all connected. Bethesda Mission, the VFWs, the American Legions, the AM Vet Post, they're all connected to this coordinated entry system. And we know in large measure where a lot of our vets are and where some of them won't report. We've got some that are ashamed to say that they're homeless, so we don't know what the real numbers are, but we've got a pretty good handle on a good number of them. And my docket is already, I probably have 50 applications right now, and I've already selected our first 5. So the need is huge. But through that coordinated entry system is the primary way. But you can have family members get a hold of us and connect that way as well. It's great when you use a VFW or an American Legion post because we can quickly have the DD-214, the documentation that we need. It's very, very, very fast to identify things properly. It saves a lot of steps, but please make no bones about it. We'll take them. If someone comes off the street and says, "Hey, listen, here's my situation," we're going to consider that. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Yeah, so yeah, I was going to say, we actually, Ellen just reminded me that we have 15 homes, but we've been approved by the city of Harrisburg for 5 more. We just waiting, thinking, and we're thrilled, as Peggy has also said, we're thrilled that Tunnels to Towers is coming next to us with 84 units for homeless vets, dedicated for homeless. So there's a place to graduate to. That's phenomenal. And those types of things, the alignment of the stars, so to speak, is phenomenal for Harrisburg. Phenomenal. Okay. Well, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. And I thank you for your support and prayers. Again, we can't do it without you. We're going to need each and every one of you. Thank you so much.